Evening, good afternoon, good morning, Fabulites. What opens with Mo in ecstasy over her award, and her little boy toy is giving her some ecstasy, and what closes with Sean, Sonny Boy Sean, in anguish, almost the opposite of ecstasy. Okay, if you guessed Daytime Divas, this is the the finale of season 1. It's a 2-part finale, although it was actually 2 episodes, but I missed, somehow it's like I was already into the next episode before I'm like, oh my gosh, it's another episode. So we're gonna run it all together, and we're gonna try to move quick because I got places to go, people to see, and things to do. But not before I do this. Okay, so let's jump right in and see how we got from opening to closing. So Mo and her boo thing, Leon, the production assistant, are doing the do. She's admiring her award, blah, 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 blah. We see Kippy with her drug dealer, and I guess I missed that Kippy had gone back to drinking or whatever at the end of last episode. She had fallen off the wagon or was back using at the end of last episode, and her dealer is like, I thought you had stopped using. And she's like, I'm not back using. What had happened is that I hurt my elbow, but I ran out of the drugs. But because I'm in a new place and I can't get a doctor, and you know how, well, you might not know, but that's like that addict talk. They be having a story for everything. Okay, so then we see that Mo is coming to Max because she needs legal permission to do this sitcom. If it comes through, she's auditioning for this sitcom, and Max is like, yes, I'll give you permission with some provisions. You are never to discuss my age or my vagina again. Then we see Mo is recognizing the drug dealer at the studio. She like, I got my card. I don't need you anymore. What you doing here? And he like, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the show. I love the show. And Mo is like, she kind of get a little bit on the edge of her consciousness. Then we're at the office with Mama Max and Sonny Boy Sean, and Sean is like, you letting Mo go for the sitcom, she'll miss the show, she'll be tired, she'll be a monster. And Max is like, I am not worried about her. And then we're in the hair and makeup room, and the cast is there, and Mo is talking big stuff. Max is scared of me. And Max walk in, she like, yeah, right. And Nina's like, now that we're award winners, the network should let us do more real reporting. And Heather is like, now that we're the award winners, the network should scrub the internet of all pics of my nipples. And, blah, 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 blah. And Max is basically like, look, now that we award winners, we should keep doing what we're doing because the formula works. Then we see the woman production assistant, is her name Ramona, and she has a big package, like a gift basket. And Max is like, oh my gosh, is it from Oprah? Is she finally acknowledging my success? And the production assistant is like, well, actually it's from your dry cleaner. And then, she gives Max an envelope, and Max looks in the envelope, and she's like, oh, actually, this is from Oprah. And she's like, the woman owns a whole network, and she gives us a $50 gift certificate for bed and bath. And we can see as the audience that it's really a subpoena. And then we see Mo getting a call from the higher ups, and she finds out that she didn't get the sitcom, and she is pissed. She's mad, and they're about to go on air. And between these 2 episodes, we saw the show about like 5 or 10 times, right? It was a lot of showtime, lunch hour time. But she's mad. And then we see Max. She is on the phone with William, the doorman, her boyfriend. And Nina's overhearing, and Max is like, they're too close. They're subpoenaing my phone records. And that gets the detective, not the detective, but the reporter and Nina, kind of going. And then we have the lunch hour intro in the show, and they're talking about the DTA, like the Detroit, Daytime Television Awards. I think that's what it is, the award ceremony, and that's the convo. And Mo is like, yeah, but let's talk about Heather's headlights, because that was the story. And then people are like, oh, don't talk about that. Or Heather is like, don't talk about that. And Mo was like, I can't talk about that. I thought I couldn't talk about Max's vajayjay, because she mad because she didn't get the sitcom, and she think it's Max that's blocking her blessings. And so then Kippy is high. She's high on the show, and she's like high. And Max is like to Nina, well, let's talk about babies. And Nina is kind of like blah, not really all that enthusiastic. Then afterward, Max is like to Kibby, keep doing what you're doing. You saved the show. And I'm like, no, she's getting high, Max. Don't tell her to keep doing what she's doing. She need help. But they haven't noticed yet that she's, falling off her wagon, off her rocker. And then we see that Sean gets a record subpoena as well, and the PA is like, oh, here's another package from Oprah, and she gives it to Sean, so we all know it's a subpoena. And then we see Sean with Nina, and they're talking about the subpoena, and Sean is like, well, I was drunk on the night of Ted's death, so I don't really remember what happened. And Nina is like, your mom is gonna fix the subpoena. How does she think she can fix a subpoena? Like, that's something serious. That's not like, some little stuff she be dealing with around here. That's a big deal. What's your mama into? And then we see Kippy and Tandy. Tandy is Kippy's sister. And Tandy is like, you said you would help me with this audition, and I'm not good. Is that it? Is that why you won't help me? And Kippy is in distress because the child, her sister, is auditioning for this role with this man that Kippy knows is a child molester. So she feel like he's gonna groom her sister, and she's gonna be in the same position that Kippy is in, getting high and in distress from molestation and drug use and alcohol use. But she doesn't want to tell her, and she's like, oh, it's just that you're not ready. So Kippy doesn't tell her sister about her molestation. And I can understand, because when people are molested, they be ashamed, even though we're like, tell her, they be ashamed. They don't know how to talk about stuff. They're used to being secretive about stuff and hiding stuff. And then when you combine that with using, you just kind of use to cover up your feelings and your distress. And then it's probably confusing to her, because she probably liked parts of it and didn't like parts of it, even though she seems pretty clear about the fact that she was molested. Sometimes people are very confused about it. Then we see Max on the phone, and she's talking to the assistant mayor, who's a black woman. And Max is like, get the cops off of me. And the assistant mayor is like, well, my nephew needs a job. And Max is like, yep, your nephew got a job. And then we see the detective, and he's like, my case is over, just like that. And it's like, yep, Max got connections. She working them in the background. And then we see Max calling the higher uppers about Mo's non-job getting, and they're like, Mo off script is wild. We see like some footage of her auditioning, and when she's on script, she's really stiff and terrible and awkward. She's acting like the worst actress there is. And then she just go off script, and then she just be wild and like not fit for daytime TV. This ain't a comedy club where people are drunk and it's grown-ups, it's adults. This is a show for children. So Max keeps watching it over and over. She's showing William. He like, we done seen it 8 times. She think it's funny. Then we see Heather and Mo coming into work, and now there are metal detectors that have been installed at work because of Nina's being attacked by the guy with the gun and everything. And when the Mo goes through the detectors, and then right behind her, Heather goes through the detectors, and the detectors go off, and Mo is like, oh my God, it was a white girl. It wasn't me. And Heather's like, oh, it's just my gun. I have a permit. Don't worry. And she takes the gun out, and she just, doing her blonde, happy white girl thing. And then Heather's colleagues, we see them later. They like, you carry a gun? Wait a second. What's going on? A gun? This is serious. Don't be bringing no gun. A gun. And Heather is like, my Second Amendment rights. I can carry a gun. And I keep it safe. This is what I do. I put my gun in my purse. I put my purse in this drawer. I close this drawer. I lock the door. And then I put the key right here. Okay, so then we're on the lunch hour show again. And they're continuing the conversation about the right to bear arms as per Max's suggestion. Because when they were arguing, Max is like, let's just talk about this on the show. So, and then they're like, well, let's check in with social media. And we had learned earlier that there are all of these memes of Heather's boobies that have gone viral. People think it's funny. And so then they check in with social media, and it's like a meme of Heather with her nipples exposed and guns or something like that. So it's kind of like, she's so upset. We're so mad, Heather is. And then we see Max advocating for Mo to get another audition. She like, you got to give her another chance. I'll work with her. I'll help her or whatever. And then we see Kippy and her sister at the audition. And Kippy is like, her sister is like, why are you here? You're trying to sabotage me. You didn't want to help me before. If you want to talk to me, you talk to my manager. And then we see Max trying to help Mo with her audition. And Mo is like, this stuff that they wrote is not funny. And then Max is like, it's a network sitcom. You got to say your lines. It's not gonna be funny. And then Mo is like, why are you trying to help me? And then we see Kippy with Vance, and that's her molesting TV daddy. And she's like, look, my sister better not get on this show. I don't care if you like her or not. You are not gonna do to her what you did to me. Whatever you got to do to fix it, fix it. And he tanks her audition. He says, well, she's like, thanks for the jobs. The network makes a decision, but I'm gonna put a word in, against her getting the job. And Kippy is basically like, you better, or else I'm gonna tell what you did to me. And he's like, nobody is gonna believe you. You're a mess. One will push for someone else. I will push for someone else. He's like, nobody's gonna believe. You can't, out me, because nobody's gonna believe your drunk ass, Kippy, your wild ass, your drugging ass, your freely sexing ass. But I'll put a word in for someone else. And then we see Nina and Sean, and Nina is like, what strings did she pull to get something this big to go away? Talking about Sean's mother, Max. And what is she hiding? And, Sean is like, oh, it ain't nothing. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Shoot, it's over. Good. And his baby mama is like, you're worried about my fake award, but what about this murder investigation? You don't even know what happened. You said you were drunk and not there. And then we see Nina with Anna, and Anna is like, what do you want? Nina is like, I want bygones to be bygones. What's up with you and Max? What do you have on Maxine? It must have been hard for you to get a job. And Anna is like, well, talent always rises to the top. But we see that Anna is an intern, and the guy comes to her to get him coffee. And then Nina is like, why did Max want to get rid of you? And Anna is like, well, I have evidence. She murdered her husband. And it wasn't dog poop that I put on your porch, because they had made some reference to dog poop. So I guess it was her human boo-boo that she put on Nina's porch. Yeah. Then we see Kippy at her place, and she's already high at 8 a.m. She's getting more drugs from her drug dealer, not just Adderall. Then we see Heather with her children at school, and the school administrator is like, hold on, you can't come into the school because of your gun-carrying ways. You and your children really can't be here, period, if you want to continue with this gun-carrying. And Heather is like, you're supposed to be inclusive. What about my second rights? All of that kind of stuff. And then we see Mo coming into Max's office, and Mo is like, I got the job. And Mo is like, let's have Vance Gordon on the show to announce that I'm going to bring some chocolate milk as the chocolate mom to the network, or whatever. I messed up the joke, but y'all get the point. Okay, so then we see Mo visiting Kippy, and Kippy is like in Kippy's office at work or whatever, and Kippy is like, oh, you got the job? And Mo is like, yep. What about your sister? And Kip is like, I don't think she's gonna get it. And then she's like, Kippy is like, Vance sucks. And Mo is like, huh? he liked your sister. Why are you sniffing? Like, you know, she's starting to, again, you know, it's kind of like the evidence is mounting, but it's not, you know, she hadn't made the connection yet. Then we see Vance and Max at lunch, and Vance is like, well, how is Mo really to work with? And Max is like, oh, she's so sweet, she has no ego, the brashness is just an act. And then we know, uh-oh, Max got something going because she lying. She telling the story. And then she's like, so you all are shooting the sitcom in New York? And Vance is like, well, we have to because of Mo. And Max is like, well, shoot, put your foot down. You know, you're Max Vance or whatever his name is, or Vance whoever. You know, you the stuff. You the network is lucky to have you. You don't let the sitcom run you. Your house and everything is in LA. So, you know, you put your foot down. And he's like, what, we gonna fight over Mo? And Max is like, we're not gonna fight over Mo. I would never fight or whatever. And then we see Nina and Max, and the murder thing is stressing Sean. That's what Nina is telling Max. And she's like, you know, Anna told me that you killed your husband. And Max is like, you have skeletons too. You know, so, you know, I'm talking to, speaking of hubby, I'm going to go talk to your hubby, Andrew, the politician. So you better get off of me trying to get into my business about Ted. This is what Max is saying to Nina. So then we see Nina back at Anna's job, and she's like, you know, telling her bosses, because she's an intern, Anna is like, I'm currently, don't interrupt me with coffee requests, I'm currently in the midst of taking down my own boss with my former nemesis. And then Anna is talking all texty like OMG and WTF and I'm hungry AF, and you know, and canceling the investigation. I don't know what that means, canceling the investigation. Okay, so then we see Kippy Place woman pie trying to get Kippy to get Vance to take selfie with her. So Kippy is in her office at work, and the production assistant Ramona comes in, and she's like, oh my god, can you get Vance to take a selfie with me? He's going to be on the show today. And Kippy is like, show today? Vance is here? Get out, I say, get out. And then we see Kippy flipping out. She's running into people, bumping into them, not saying excuse me, being all rude. She's yelling at the hairstylist. And Mo is like, to Max, Kippy is looking a little Lindsay Lohan circa 2004. I don't know what year she said. And I don't know much about Lindsay Lohan, but I guess when she was having drug and alcohol issues. And then we're on the show, and Kippy is like, well, he doesn't do age appropriate, talking about Vance. And then, you know, it's kind of like a tense exchange between her and her ex-TV show Dad. You can tell there's some drama and some trauma. And then Tandy is announced as, they're like, and now we're going to announce his daughter on the show. Max is, Mo is the wife and his daughter is, and then Tandy comes out, and Max notices Kibby looking sick, and then Kibby is going off on her real life mom, and then Max is like, Kibby, stop with the drugs, you know, you got to get yourself together, girl, get it together. And then we see the higher uppers to Mo, and they're like, look, we're shooting the show in LA. And then Max is like, oh, I'm so sorry, you just got back to the lunch hour here in New York City. And then Mo says to Max, this has Max written all over it, which it does. Max got her. And then we see that Kibby has the gun, and because you know, this is all in the aftermath of them shooting the show with Vance on it, and it's Heather's gun. She knew exactly where it was because Heather done took us through her whole routine, and she Kibby is pointing the gun at Vance, and she's like, I'm not gonna let him get away with this. And then the production assistant Ramona jumps on Kibby, and the gun goes off after they hit the floor. So it's like the production assistant has saved you know, Vance's life, or saved him from getting shot. And then we see Max making up a cover story, and she's like, you know, what had happened is that this was a prop gun, it wasn't a real gun, it didn't go off, we were preparing for Heather's story, blah 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 blah. And then So then we see Max and Kibby having a conversation, and Kibby is like, the reason I did it is because I have to keep that creep away from Tandy. He makes you feel beautiful and sexy, and he waited until I was legal, and at least I was high the whole time, because that's what he was good at, giving me drugs when I was 15 and alcohol when I was 15, and you know, all of that. And then Max is like, well, where was your mom? And Kibby is like, well, he had paid her off. And then Max is like, I will take care of you and Kibby. You need to take care of your sobriety. I will take care of you and Tandy, Kibby, Max is saying, but you, Kibby, need to take care of your sobriety. And then we see that the mom and Vance are dogging Kibby, like, oh, she's a drug addict, she's a problem child, whatever they're saying. And then Nona confronts Max. Who is Nona? Maybe Nina. Nina confronts Max, and she's like, you know, this is another cover-up. You're covering up this gun story just like you covered up the murderation of your husband, Ted. And then Max is like, you got some loose ends too, Miss Nina. And then we're at Heather's school, and they're having her beauty pageant, which she was so excited about, is being canceled. And then she's like, what about my transgender child? And they're like, you're going to use the transgender card? And Heather is like, yes. And so they negotiate, and they decide it's no winners and everybody gets a crown or whatever. But Heather is going to get to do her pageant because her child Ella wants to do a pageant. And then we see Nina and Sean, and Nina is like, Anna has no evidence, and she's a good journalist because she's gone through everything that Anna has given her. And Sean is like, look, William killed Ted. That's what I think happened. Mom let Ted walk all over her, and I'm not going to let her take the fall for William. You know, my mom has a weakness for these men. And then we see Max with the higher uppers, and Max is like, you know about this situation with Vance and these children, and you're letting him be around kids? And the higher upper is like, who are you going to believe? A messed up kid, or I've heard stories, but who are you going to believe? The messed up kid or the guy with the squeaky clean image? He's a catch for the network, and you fire Kibby. And then we see Max with Kibby, and she's like, you trust me and you stay sober. Then backstage, about to go on the show, Max is like, look, something happened between Kibby and Vance. And then Mo is like, how do you know? Her mom said that she was a mess, and you know moms don't lie. And then somebody is like to Mo, you just want to keep your sitcom. And Heather is like, well. And then Nina is like, if it was your kid, Heather, would you believe it? And then the show is starting, and Ashley Graham from America's Next Top Model, I didn't know she was on AT, but I thought but anyway, is the guest host. She's the guest co-host. And they're so busy arguing backstage that she's the only one on set when the show starts. And then Max is like, well, Kibby is making an indie movie and she'll be gone. And Mo is like, oh, is she playing a gun-wielding psycho? And somebody else is like, no, she's playing an abused girl who finally snaps. I think Nina says that. And then we see Kibby leaving another message for her sister, like her sister's not answering her call. Then we see Sean with William, and he's like, you know, what really happened on the night that Ted died. I'm always going to look out for my mom. Then we see Max in the car with the politician Andrew, and she's like, what is Andrew hiding? I'll make a large donation to your campaign. And Andrew is like, she stole the Pulitzer story. And then we see Nina back at Anna's job, and Nina is like, you don't have a story. And Anna's like, I got a tape. You think I'm going to just give you this big story? And Nina is like, I just want the truth, not the story. Then we're at Heather's pageant, and there's drama, and folks are resistant to Heather's pageantry, but she pushes through. Then we see Nina listening to Hannah's taped evidence, and Nina is not convinced, or is she? I can't really tell. And Nina is like, I'll take the tape to improve the quality. And Anna is like, I'm not going to let you take my big story. And then Anna has to go get coffee because she's an intern, and then Nina steals the tape. And then we see Mo on a photo shoot with Tandy, and she finds out that Mom let Kibby live with Vance because she's chatting with Tandy, and Tandy tells her, oh no, my sister lived with Vance because it was more convenient. Plus Mo notices how touchy-feely and handy Vance is with Tandy. Then we see Max with Kibby's mom, and Max is like, let's protect Tandy. And the mom is like, protect her from what? A great job? Kibby is just jealous. I'm the manager, I know. And Max is like, well, as a mom, I want to help. And then her mom is like, well, if you want to help, go to a soup kitchen. Then we see that Max is coming to max. Okay, let me I guess I'm gonna have to do part 2 because I'm running out of space, even though I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish. But yeah, we're gonna have to do part 2. So yeah, so we'll pick up where we left off. Thank you. I'm Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. And I don't know if this is exactly the episode, but we'll name it because it was 2 different episode names and everything. So the rest is coming soon. Peace.